The inclusive service standards. Organizations want to be inclusive, and most would say they are. But is it clear what we mean by inclusive, how we become inclusive, and who decides if our services are inclusive? Building inclusive services will mean consumers have easy access to our organizations, and our services will be tailored to suit their individual preferences, experiences, and needs. Inclusive service provision doesn't mean treating everyone the same or setting up parallel services for every language, religious, or community group. We need our current services to be adaptable and responsive for everyone. We know that just because people identify with a particular diversity group, such as Aboriginal, Sikh, or lesbian, does not mean this one characteristic defines who they are. We need to remove stereotypes and assumptions, listen to the consumer, and help them be active in the decisions about their life. The key principles of an inclusive approach include a commitment to understanding and addressing diversity, a big picture view that supports all consumers' multiple and intersecting characteristics, knowledge about the local community, methods that identify and remove barriers, a flexible, responsive and adaptable style, and robust systems that embed consistent practice throughout the organization. This type of approach to inclusion may be new for many, but it doesn't need to be overwhelming. We should think about inclusive practice as a journey. Each organization is on their own inclusion journey. We start at different positions, we take different routes, and use different modes of transportation. There are many variables that impact the route we take, the mode of transport we use, and our navigation system. There is no one direct path to take, and like any journey, there may be detours, speed bumps, and breakdowns along the way. It's important to remember that our journey to being inclusive is not a race, and there are no shortcuts. To guide us on our journey, the inclusive service standards have been developed. The 3 standards, commitment to inclusive services, developing inclusive services, and capacity building for inclusive services, provide a route map for our own adventure to become truly inclusive for all consumers. Standard 1. Commitment to inclusive services. We need to prove that we are dedicated and capable of building an environment that responds to consumers' diversity and delivers individualized services. To successfully meet the criteria for this standard, we need to develop organizational values and statements that commit to being inclusive, produce strategic plans and annual reports that highlight inclusion priorities and achievements, review and amend all policies so they clearly address diversity and inclusion considerations, and build diversity and inclusion priorities into organizational quality and continuous improvement measures. Standard 2. Developing inclusive services. We need to design and implement services that are based on evidence, stakeholder expertise, and information from our consumers. In order to meet the criteria for this standard, we need to have processes that identify the diversity of consumers and our capabilities of responding to their interests and needs. Consult with stakeholder groups and organizations when developing and reviewing services. Use community and consumer diversity information to identify and respond to barriers, and have accessible feedback mechanisms that receive and respond to consumer feedback. Standard 3. Capacity building for inclusive services. Diversity and inclusion are too often seen as nice to have, nice to do, or specialist areas. However, it's about all of our services being able to address diversity. To meet the criteria for this standard, organizations need to provide management and staff access to the latest diversity and inclusion research, tools, and resources. Review the abilities of staff to deliver inclusive services and support their development where necessary. Develop induction, training, and ongoing education that reflect the organization's commitment to inclusive services and enable staff to effectively deliver on that commitment. And invest in personnel and information resources that support inclusive service provision. The inclusive service standards allow us to map out our own path to becoming an inclusive organisation. As we navigate our way towards becoming an inclusive organisation, we learn that there is no final destination. To be inclusive is to be on a continuous journey that requires us to learn about and respond to our community's evolving diversity, listen to consumers and involve them in their service delivery, and improve and amend our services so they meet our consumers' interests, preferences and needs.